But tonight, the story that we are breaking right at the top. News now coming in that the cabinet reshuffle of the Narendra Modi government is likely to take place within the next week, possibly as early as Friday, the 25th of August. Sources telling India Today that two current ministers in the race for the railways are after Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu offered to quit. We're told Nitin Gadkari's name is being mentioned as a possible replacement in a widened transport ministry. Nearly a dozen ministers, we are told, could be changed. We're told the Prime Minister will have a full-time defense minister. The Prime Minister, Amit Shah, have discussed the cabinet changes, which could come anytime soon, is what we are told. A few ministers likely to be elevated from MOS rank. Piyush Goyal, Dharmendra Pradhan among those who could be elevated to cabinet rank. Rahul Srivastava, our National Affairs editor, is joining me at the moment. Rahul, give me a sense. This is the much anticipated reshuffle. Now that it appears that Suresh Prabhu could be on his way out after the latest rail derailment, will this expedite that process since the Prime Minister has asked him to wait, we are told? Does that mean that we will now have not just a new railway minister, but possibly a complete cabinet reshuffle?
Rajiv, if you recall, a few days back, we had talked about the cabinet reshuffle. It was likely to happen on the 18th of August. It seemed to be all stitched. But then the JDU development started happening, then AIDMK and a lot of other things. But what we are hearing from our top sources is that between the 25th of August and 2nd September lies a window of opportunity. Yes, sources are saying it could happen on the 25th. Again, a constellation issue is involved that the Ganesh Chaturthi element starts sometime around the 25th of August. So it could happen there. It may not happen after the 5th, primarily because of the inauspicious period starting from there. But one element important is the Prime Minister 100% going to China. It will decide also whether the date can be shifted to the 3rd or the 4th. But yes, one of the critical elements is that it's going to be a wholesome exercise. Governors, ministers, cabinet ministers, ministers of state, party leaders sent and drafted to the states for the coming elections. The exercise may involve all of that. What we are very importantly hearing that at least 12 major changes can be there as far as the Council of Ministers is concerned. One important element, AIDMK is not likely to be part of this council.
Now, we are told at the moment that there are a number of ministers, of course, who hold dual portfolios. Arun Jaitley, Finance and Defence. The fact is Smriti Irani, Textiles and Information and Broadcasting. The Environment Minister passed away, Anil Dave. So there are lots of vacancies. But can we expect the likes of Piyush Goyal, Dharmendra Pradhan to be elevated, or are you expecting a lot of new talent to come into this government?
Rajdeep, some new element definitely coming in form of, say, for example, JDU is going to send two of its men. RSP Singh is a senior member of parliament, is one of the favorites of Mr. Nitish Kumar. In the process of trying to get JDU on its side, the BJP, is it ready to dole out a plump portfolio to RSP Singh, a member of parliament of the JDU? There is a very strong buzz that in case it is not Nitin Gadkari or some other BJP strongman who gets railways,
right.
Is the BJP even thinking, or the Prime Minister thinking, of handing it over to JDU more as a political signal to Bihar?
Right.
There are a few other elements that couple of very important projects, pet projects of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The performance of the ministers not satisfactory. I will not like to take the names, but I'm being told that those ministers might see a change of portfolio. There are two at least such. There are two ministers who seem to be reaching an age, say 75 and beyond, and also one of them is not keeping very well. They might be sent out as governors. These are a few of the changes. Then the government also has to decide about the governors, where governors are holding twin portfolios. West Bengal, Bihar, then you have Tamil Nadu, which is a key state. They may not like to get Vidyasagar Rao out of Tamil Nadu because right now he has been involved in all the exercises. So it's going to be a very complex exercise. Then, for example, BJP UP president has to be sent. The government, the BJP will like to think, send out a strong political signal. Similarly, Odisha is a new battle emerging for the BJP. What about Dharmendra Pradhan? Will Dharmendra Pradhan remain in the party or will get elevated in the Cabinet Council of Ministers? All these elements, one is waiting for answers.
Okay, so clearly we could expect something as early as Friday. Remember, Ganesh Chaturthi is on Friday, and maybe Mr. Modi will surprise us on Ganesh Chaturthi by finally going in for the much-awaited cabinet reshuffle. Thanks very much, Rahul Srivastava, for joining me. Now, that talk of a cabinet reshuffle has gathered even more momentum after Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu this morning offered to quit after 2 train accidents in 4 days. The latest took place once again in Uttar Pradesh, where a train hit a dumper that killed 70 people, that injured more than 70 people. I beg your pardon. Mr. Prabhu sent out a series of tweets saying that he had met the Prime Minister and offered to quit. However, we are told the Prime Minister has asked the Minister to wait, indicating that any change will take place only after the cabinet reshuffle takes place. But let's take a look at why Suresh Prabhu appears to be on his way out.
November 1956. Lal Bahadur Shastri, then Railways Minister, resigned after 144 passengers were killed in a train accident in Tamil Nadu. August 1999. Nitish Kumar quits as Railway Minister after 290 people died in a railway accident in Assam. 18 years later, another railway minister takes moral responsibility for train mishaps and offers to quit. Suresh Prabhu took to Twitter to say he had met Prime Minister Modi and taken moral responsibility for the accidents.
Well, accountability is a good system in government. No, the Prime Minister will take a decision on whatever request the Railway Minister has made.
The sudden announcement by Suresh Prabhu came on a day when another derailed in Uttar Pradesh. More than 70 people were injured in the accident. The derailment took place after the train collided with a dumper. Earlier on Saturday, the Utkal Express derailed in Muzaffarnagar district of UP, killing 22 people and injuring over 156. An internal probe report had found negligence on part of the railways. Several top officers have been sent on leave, others suspended. The Railway Board Chairman resigned on Wednesday. Suresh Prabhu was handpicked by Modi for the crucial Railway Ministry in 2014. Such was his importance that the day he became member of BJP after quitting Shiv Sena, he was sworn in as Railway Minister. Nearly 3 years later, Prabhu's job is on the line. Is accountability the new benchmark of Modi government? With Rahul Srivastava, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let me raise the big questions tonight. Should Suresh Prabhu be held accountable for the accidents that have taken place in the last week? Have train accidents increased under NDA rule? Has the railways failed to do enough to improve rail safety? Is rail safety suffering because of the focus, some say, on bullet trains? Is the government spending enough on the modernization of railways? These are some of the questions I want to raise tonight. Dinesh Trivedi, former rail minister and senior leader TMC, will join us hopefully from Thiruvananthapuram shortly. There he is outside the airport waiting to talk to us on Skype. Gaurav Bhatia of the BJP, Pawan Khera of the Congress are also with us. And I also have VK Agnihotri, former member engineering of the Railway Board, joining me to give me an expert perspective. But I want to come to you, Dinesh Trivedi, because you've taken the trouble to come on Skype, former rail minister. Please tell me, should Suresh Prabhu be resigning? If you were in his place, would you resign tonight after 2 accidents within a week? The latest, 100 people injured after a dumper hit a train in the night. Again, a case clearly of negligence.
Well, Radhi, first of all, my heart really reaches out to the family of the people who have lost their near and dear ones. And this is really very unfortunate. The reason I say unfortunate is Indian Railway is one of the best organizations in the world. I've seen it very closely. You have the best of people, best of brains. But what happens if the system gets little disrupted? Then the whole thing comes crumbling down. And it has taken a while. It has not happened overnight. Now, the priority is what? the priority, as far as I was concerned, and I'm still concerned, is to get your basic foundation strong and then go for any other cosmetics. You can't do other way around. So as far as whether Suresh Prabhu should resign or not, he's a very dear friend of mine. He's a capable person. I think we should leave it to the Honorable Prime Minister because he is the captain of the team. And I'm sure he will take the decision which is good for the country and the railways too.
No,
and I must tell you...
No, so is there a systemic crisis? Is there a systemic crisis now which has reached? Is the railways like the public health we discussed last week in the context of Gorakhpur? Are the railways also in ICU? Is the Indian Railways also in ICU today?
Rajdeep, when I'm talking here, first of all, I'm talking as a person who really loves the railway and not trying to talk as an opposition, which, I'm talking totally on my individual capacity. And I would say, yes, the problem is the entire board is totally demoralized. One of the biggest mistakes they made was to give extension to the Railway Board Chairman, Mr. Mittal. I mean, I don't hold much grudge that he comes from the stores, but those people who are waiting, who are more technical oriented, they found themselves to be shortchanged. And the entire system, if you ask me, has collapsed. And I'm not telling this today. I've written articles after articles.
Right.
And I have warned, that this is going to happen. I've also said in one of the articles why accidents are appearing. You have no money, 25,000 crore, which you should be spending on depreciation, renewal of old asset. You are not doing that. And you have just gone on to cosmetics. And I think...
Do you believe the bullet train is a cosmetic, Mr. Trivedi? You say that the railways has gone... Because I have the figures. The railway ministry has sent me a paper. They are saying it is wrong to say that the railways has diverted funds meant for safety to fancy projects like bullet trains. They are claiming that the bullet train is being funded by the Japanese government with less than 20% contribution from India, and the money has come at the attractive rate of interest of 0.1%. Would you support the bullet train, or do you believe the bullet train compromises basic rail safety as we've seen in the last week?
Rajdeep, I'm not looking at an isolated case. When I said that you are looking at cosmetics, what I'm trying to tell you is that your priority has to be reinforcing the basic structure. And one of the biggest problems with the railways is it is defined as a commercial organization. Everywhere in the world, it is the government who spends all the money for infrastructure like they have done it for the roadways. And then it could be run by private sector.
But where is the money? Where will the railways get the money? Successive ministers, including yourself, are accused of using the railways as a political tool. When I say you, in particular, your Chief Minister of Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, when she was railway minister, Lalu, others have been accused of using railways as a political tool, not running it as a commercial enterprise.
I agree with that. That's why I've always said that as far as railway is concerned, I tried my best to address safety and modernization, because is the same thing. If you do not modernize, you have to have a generational change. If we are talking about Chandrayaan, we are talking about sending people to moon, we are capable of changing, but we have to understand the strength of Indian Railways. We cannot do patchwork. At the moment, what is happening is patchwork. And I can tell you, I've seen it from very close quarters. And if I get a chance to speak to the Honorable Prime Minister, I can explain to him, not that I'm an extraordinary expert in the railways, but yes, I can tell you what is ailing the railways, and you can change the minister. But if you do not change the approach, nothing will change. Again, unfortunately, we'll go through the accidents. And I must tell you, I tell you, we can change it. It can be changed because we have very competent people in the railways.
But
don't interfere. Just go by, as far as Bullet is concerned, Bullet is doing its own work, and I don't think it's been funded by Japanese. And I have no grudge, because ultimately you also will need a high-speed train. So I have nothing against Bullet, but first you have your, if you are trying to say that, okay, Wi-Fi is very important, but that's not the end of the world. So that's why I said that you have all the time to attend all the seminars, this, that, and all. Suresh is a good guy. But unfortunately, the priorities, and you have to call spade a spade. You don't have to tell that, oh, I have all the money and railways going places. You have to first of all accept the ailment. And then only you have the cure.
The ailment you're saying is a lack of modernization. The ailment you're saying is technology is failing. There is an urgent need to modernize the railway. Am I correct?
The ailment is you have not understood the strength of the railway and you have not understood how should you fund it. You have got to fund it totally by the government like you do the highways. You cannot say that, okay, we are going to give you fund, but you give us interest. That was during the British time. Now this is our railways. I also said that if you can't reach the railways to the borders, and if you have some conflict, then how are you going to reach your soldiers and material, which our neighbors have done? For instance, China. So I think a lot can be done and we are capable, and I'm sure Honorable Prime Minister is aware of it. And I have faith that he is going to change system because this was a wake-up call, much required. And I also
can I just hold you there? Can I hold you there? You're saying change systems. I'll come to you in a moment because I'm going to show you an image that is going to shock the country once again when it comes to the railways. But for a moment, I just want to get political points because clearly what has happened now, 2 train derailments in a week, and suddenly the knives are out for Suresh Prabhu. Pawan Kheda, I have the figures again given by the Railway Ministry. Now they are actually claiming that the total number of accidents have come down since UPA 2. And yet, the truth is that the death toll in 2016-17 is the highest in a decade. Now, are you going to gun for the minister and say the minister must resign? Does that mean that every time there was a rail accident, a Pawan Bansal or before him, a Mamta Banerjee should have resigned when your government was in power?
No, it's not just attacking one minister. It's the culture of this particular government, Rajdeep. There are 1,42,000 safety staff vacancies in the railways. What has been done for that? The operating ratio is the highest in 16 years, 109%, which means to get 100 rupees, the railway is spending 109 rupees. So you were talking about 1 lakh crore for bullet trains. Just give 30,000 crore for the loss which railways made last year.
The fact is that the bankruptcy of the railways began. The bankruptcy of the railways is a legacy. The financial decline of the railways is a legacy which this government has inherited. Suresh Prabhu will turn around today, Pawan Kheda, and tell you that, look, there's only so much I could do. You bankrupted the coffers of the railways in the 10 years you were in power. That's what he'll turn around and say.
Rajdeep, Suresh Prabhu came up with the mission zero accident. He required X amount of money, which was 1,54,000 crore. The Niti Aayog 2 months ago, sat for a meeting wondering where will they get this money from. The budget, finance minister came up with the budget for 1 lakh crore spread over 5 years. No, this gentleman wants the money right now. You are giving him money for 5 years, spread over 5 years. And then he has been asked to raise his own one. You know, in December, the freight, which constitutes 70% of railway revenue, has come down to -72. There is no growth in the freight carriage.
1 minute.
So these are major issues.
Yeah, these are issues,
well,
but these are issues,
slowdown of the
Kheda,
economy is also responsible.
These are issues, but many of them are legacy issues. Gaurav Bhatia, on the other hand, if the minister perhaps says that I'm going to have zero accident, then every time there's an accident, people are going to point a finger at him and people are going to start asking questions. And 2 accidents in a week, the manner in which those accidents have taken place, particularly the Utkal Express accident, suggests there was negligence, and therefore someone has to be held accountable. The Railway Board chairman has resigned today, and there is talk now of Mr. Prabhu resigning. Do you accept that this is a ministry today where many of the promises have not been met?
No, Rajdeep, I would say, especially for the BJP government, that the ministers set a very high standard, learning from the example of Mr. Narendra Modi ji, the Prime Minister of the country. Mr. Suresh Prabhu today has offered to resign because of the accidents that we have seen, which are very unfortunate. We have lost human lives. And it is the prerogative of the Honorable Prime Minister to accept or not accept the resignation. But I think at least it is not like the UPA ministers which are told by the Honorable Supreme Court to resign on charges of corruption and other serious problems of dereliction of duty. I must point out the efforts that have been put by Mr. Suresh Prabhu, who is a very sincere railway minister. He is known for his honesty. He inherited a railway system which was dilapidated, and he has mentioned in his tweet that he tried to overcome decades of neglect, especially the last 1 decade under the UPA regime. There are issues of unmanned crossing, and let me point out that when the BJP government came to power, there were around 8,000 unmanned railway crossings. In a period of 3 years, 4,258 unmanned crossings have been now made manned crossings. This is the highest in 3 years. If you compare it to the UPA regime, 3 years, they were only able to turn the unmanned into manned crossings, which were 3,400 in number. Second, the capital expenditure part is very important. You know, there has been a special focus by the BJP government to invest in expanding to update the unmanned crossing and changing the railway tracks. And I would tell you that in 2013-14, the capital expenditure was 39,000 crores. This was increased to 46,000 crores in 2015-16.
But despite that,
now the number of accidents have also come down.
The number of accidents have come down. The number of people who have died are 193 in derailments this year, 2016-17, which is the highest in the last decade. So there is obviously, despite the effort, no one doubts Suresh Prabhu's sincerity. No one doubts Suresh Prabhu's sincerity.
The number of fatal...
But the fact is that the fatalities have increased. There is a problem. So, the rail board chairman was given an extension.
We cannot lose sight of the fact that under the UPA regime...
Yes. This cannot be a comparative.
No,
this cannot be a comparative. The UPA people died in the UPA.
Over the
therefore,
last 10 years...
When the minister says zero accident,
Rajdeep,
then he puts himself in a corner.
I never came to that. I first told you, no, pace. Let me point out the positive things done by the Railway Ministry under Mr. Suresh Prabhu. The pace of track renewal has increased substantially in the last 3 years to almost more than 2,000 kilometers every year. This is the data that I have.
Yes.
Whether it is changing unmanned crossings to manned crossings, whether it is pace of track renewal, everything under the BJP government has increased. Every fatality that is caused is very, very serious, and we have to ensure that not a single human life is lost. If we can
I just get away from the political...
we are working towards it.
Okay.
But we also cannot overlook the fact that UPA government being in power for 10 years did not improve the system to a level where we can assure security of every person who boards the train.
Okay, I just want to understand, is there a systemic crisis? We can go on with the political tutu-meme between the UPA and the NDA, but VK Agnihotri, former member Engineering Railway Board, do you agree with Dinesh Trivedi that there is a systemic crisis, sir, that today faces the railways, that there is a crisis of finances, there is a crisis of where do you put your money, there's a crisis when it comes to crumbling infrastructure, the lack of modernization?
No, the first problem which I can see is that we fixed our targets too high, which are not achievable with the manpower available and with the resources available, and this is creating kind of
So you're saying the railways can't take the pressure. The railways can't simply take the pressure today. The pressure of people, of tracks.
Pressure, nobody can take pressure beyond his capacity. So there is a capacity of people. You know, both the accidents have taken place where the person who was responsible knew exactly what he has to do, but he was not able to do for whatever reason. That can only be known from him when you ask him, because things were very simple.
So it is clearly human error. It's clearly human error in both those cases, and that leaves me to ask the question, Dinesh Trivedi, is the system simply overburdened? Is the system simply creaking? You can talk of modernization, you can talk of technology, but Mr. Trivedi, many will say the system is creaking today, and therefore the railways are as I said at the start, being pushed into the ICU.
Rajdeep, I can only tell you, I will never compare UPA, NDA, that really doesn't take anybody anywhere.
Yes.
But the fact is, first you have to accept where you are. And one of the issues I had with Suresh Prabhu, which I used to tell him, that Suresh, you have to accept it. Actually, the operating ratio is not 109. It could be 135. But he was not accepting it. Acceptance, and I said, it is not your doing, it's been coming over. So please understand that you have no money, the railway is bankrupt. If you do not accept and say that, no, I can run Olympics, and you can't even run the local club. So you have to accept, and then only you work on that. Tell the people that we have a problem. In my time, if there was a problem, I used to tell that, shut the railways. But I cannot risk a single life. That
I'm just playing, Mr. Minister, former Minister, picture that I want to see that we showed on Aaj Tak a week ago. These are cockroaches in railway food. Now, I know there is the human safety angle with these accidents, but look at the quality of food which is being offered on the railway. We have found cockroaches, spot checks. I am asking you whether there is simply, there is only so much today that the railways can do. I'll come back to it, that it's crumbling. You've got to deal with a large infrastructure. You don't have the finances. You're not modernizing fast enough. And therefore, you are an antiquated system.
You are on a denial mode. You don't want to accept the reality. First, for heaven's sake, accept the reality and slowly, slowly build on it. And like I said, we are fortunate to have a fantastic railway organization. Nothing has changed. The organization still remains strong. Lohani, who's coming as the railway board chairman, is a wonderful person.
So how would you change it? So what would you do? One thing, the first thing you would do?
I would, if I were the railway minister, I'll work as a team and I'll tell the people the way it is. I'll tell them that this is the problem. You have to concentrate on high density, which is 19,000 route kilometer. First, concentrate on that because 90% of your traffic is there. And don't promise, I agree with Mr. Agnihotri, don't promise anything. Just say that we are into a mess and we want to clear the mess.
You know, Mr. Agnihotri, is there a mood when I see the quality of food that is now being offered? And we have done a spot check.
Come in, Rajdeep.
No, when we show this quality of food being offered, what do we do? What do we say? What would you do, Mr. Agnihotri? Is there a problem? There was a report which was put out by the Niti Aayog which suggested very dramatically privatize. That reform was junk. Is privatization at all an answer to many of the ailments?
No, privatization of food could never have been a success because a contractor who takes the contract wants to make maximum profit and he will cut corners here and there. If you want to give good food, you have to take the responsibility yourself. And good food cannot be given at the minimum tender.
You know, so that is
cost tender.
So basically, in a sense, we've got a ministry which is working as a PSU in a time where the PSU is being stretched. I'm going to get final words from you. Gaurav Bhatia, is the minister going to resign? Quick answer. Do you expect the minister to do a Lal Bahadur Shastri or not?
No, I have already answered that question from you, Rajdeep, but I must say also one thing, that political parties in the country also need to be responsible. When the Utkal Express tragedy happened, I heard the Congress chief spokesperson coming out just half an hour after the tragedy, and he tried to politicize the issue.
That's exactly what the BJP did when they were in opposition.
Deny the fact that
when the BJP was in opposition, there was a rail accident. Lalu Prasad Yadav, you called for his resignation. That's the truth.
Absolutely not. We played the role of a constructive opposition party.
Come on, Mr. Bhatia.
To do politics over tragedy. There is a time to raise an issue.
Okay, let me therefore ask that to Pawan Khera in the end. Pawan Khera, are you playing politics over tragedy? Pawan Khera, are you playing politics over tragedy?
Gaurav, no, Rajdeep. Rajdeep, what is politics? If we don't articulate the anger of people, what do we do as an opposition? Politics is in 26/11, you go there on the 28th, stand in front of Taj and hold a press conference. Mr. Modi, who had nothing to do with Bombay, goes there. That's politics.
No, if you think
that's politics. Come on, we have to articulate people's angst. Who else will? I'm sorry, half of the media is singing the tunes of the government. Who else will articulate people's anger?
Okay, I'm going to leave it there.
I know. I'm sorry, the media has failed. You want the opposition also to fail. Who else will?
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Clearly the minister is under the scanner, but more importantly, it's the railways which are under the scanner. Because the railways itself, perhaps as I keep repeating through this program, are facing a deeper crisis than one can imagine and is beyond just one individual. Thank you very much to my guests for joining me. My take tonight. One of the assets we inherited from the British was an efficient rail network. The Chuk Chuk Ghadi is an intrinsic part of the original idea of India, reaching out to every corner of a vast country. Sadly, successive governments have treated the railways like a political tool and not an asset. The result is a crumbling infrastructure that needs to be urgently modernized and a precarious financial situation that needs to generate greater investments. To blame Suresh Prabhu alone would be unfair. If accountability after a rail accident is a criteria, then many ministers should have resigned. Forget the politics for once, get the railways back on track. Be ready to take tough decisions. Safety matters more than a creaking system based on political handouts.